Hey everyone, good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the revision marathon related to RBI circulars, directions, reports and whatnot. A very good afternoon to all of you. I hope आप सबकी preparation बहुत अच्छी चल रही होगी. Exam आपका आ ही गया है almost, right? And that's why we are here with a marathon session for the same. Let's start the discussion and let me just share what's there in the menu for today. So the agenda will be MCQs on the RBI circular. So I'll be covering September, August and July month here. I'll try to cover the MCQs from the annual report of RBI. I'll try to cover the MCQs of the financial stability report as well. So this particular session is having 250 plus MCQs in it. Okay, can be a game changer session if you're still lagging behind your RBI MCQ related practice or annual report MCQ or financial stability MCQ related practice. And rest of the things we'll be covering in the next session, right? Which is scheduled, I think, on tomorrow on 1 PM only. So let's start, guys. Let's quickly start and let's have a positive start. So every morning we are born again, and what we do today is what matters the most. It doesn't matter आपकी पहले preparation कैसी चली थी and all. The only thing that matters is आप इन बचे हुए दिनों में कैसे manage करते हो अपने pressure को, अपनी studies को, everything, right? So let's start. Here are the September month circulars on which our MCQs will be based, and the very first MCQ for you guys is the Reserve Bank of India has developed a single integrated system to simplify how data is collected and analyzed from the banks and NBFCs. So what RBI is banks and NBFCs via a particular platform. This system ensures information on digital lending, on internet banking, on mobile transactions flow seamlessly into a unified analytical platform. What is the name of that analytical platform? Options are in front of you. Financial information reporting platform, centralized information management system, digital banking supervision network, unified supervisory data interface, or integrated compliance and analytics grid. Request for participation from all of you guys. This session is having 250 plus MCQs. आराम से ये आपका 2 घंटा 3 घंटा चलने वाला है, और डेफिनेटली अगर आप ये वाला एग्जाम दे रहे हो तो काफ़ी सारे क्वेश्चंस आपको डायरेक्टली इस सेशन से मिल सकते हैं, ऐसा मैं होप करता हूं आपके एग्जामिनेशन के लिए. हियर द करेक्ट चॉइस इज बी, CIMS, राइट, सेंट्रलाइज्ड इंफॉर्मेशन मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम. एंड कैन यू गाइज टेल मी which returns are now mandatory on this particular platform as per the recent RBI circular? What kind of returns are now mandatory on this particular platform? So the correct choice here will be internet and mobile banking returns, right? Internet and mobile banking returns are now compulsorily on this particular CIMS platform. The Reserve Bank of India's regulation of payment aggregation direction. When these directions are going to take effect? Yes, very good, Aditi. When these directions are going to take effect? What is the date of applicability of the regulation of payment aggregator direction 2025? Perfect, with immediate effect, right? They are applicable with immediate effect. Tell me this one. The new payment aggregator framework under the RBI Reserve Bank of India guidelines introduces a specific authorization norm. While certain entities have now been exempted from prior approval, others need to take the approval from the RBI's digital portal. Which combination correctly reflects these authorization rules? What do you think, guys? Should be the correct choice here. Non-bank are exempt, bank must need to comply within 30 days. Banks are exempt, non-bank payment aggregators must apply within 45 days. Yes, option B is correct here. Banks are exempt. The non-bank entities that are involved in the payment aggregation business need to comply within 45 days via Prava portal. So they need to first obtain the NOC, then they need to apply via Prava portal for the same. Next one. Entities engaged purely in physical mode payment aggregation. We have seen that physical payment aggregators बहुत सारे तरीके के होते हैं, उसमें physical payment aggregators भी होते हैं, right? PAP बोलते हैं जिसको हम. Are given defined windows by the RBI to regularize their authorization status. Failure to comply with this particular norm related to timeline will require their operation. They need to stop their operation. By what date must such entities apply? by 31st December 2025 they need to apply, otherwise they need to conclude their operation, they need to wind up by 28th February 2026. So can I say that there are quite strict timelines in this particular circular. Now this can directly come in your examination. What minimum net worth must such entities maintain at the time of application? I'm talking about the payment aggregators. If I am a payment aggregator, I am applying for the license of payment aggregator now on the RBI portal. What should be the bare minimum net worth now, which is required? 5 crore, 10 crore, 15 crore, 20 crore or 25 crore. This can come in your examination in phase 1. The correct choice here will be 15 crore. Okay, 15 crore is the correct choice, option C. So at the time of initiation, I need to have 15 crore. There is a particular timeline that if I am doing payment aggregator business for the next 3 years, by the end of the 3rd year, what should be my net worth? What should be my minimum net worth? इन दोनों क्वेश्चन में से एक आपके एग्जाम में आ सकता है. What should be the bare minimum net worth that I need to have at the end of the 3rd year? 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. देखो सीधी सी बात है, 15 करोड़ हो नहीं सकता. क्यों नहीं हो सकता? क्योंकि जब आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन चाहिए तभी 15 करोड़ था. ठीक है, तो ये तो ऑब्वियस सी बात हो गई कि 15 करोड़ से ऊपर की नेटवर्थ होगी. यस, 25 करोड़. 25 करोड़, वेरी गुड. ओके, अतिथि, मेगा, सुदर्शन, सचिन, परफेक्ट. 25 crore is the correct choice. Next one. Under the RBI norm related to payment aggregator, what is the maximum per transaction limit prescribed for such payment aggregator? Cross-border operations can again be important. Which one will be correct, guys, here? Again, it is 25 lakhs, right? 25 lakhs. तो यहाँ पे आपको याद करने में थोड़ा सा इजी रहेगा. यहाँ 25 करोड़ था आपका 3rd ईयर का नेटवर्थ. यहाँ अगर आप पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर क्रॉस बॉर्डर प्लेटफॉर्म कर रहे हो, देन यू आर हैविंग अ मैक्सिमम पर ट्रांजैक्शन लिमिट विच इज 25 लाख. परफेक्ट. इफ यू आर अ PSCB, योर मैक्सिमम लिमिट पर ट्रांजैक्शन विल बी 25 लाख. देयर इज अ कैप ऑन इट, right? So these questions were from Regulation of Payment Aggregator Direction 2025. I have given the important pointers as well on those questions that I am covering, right? So the best part is just download this PDF after this session and try to read the important pointers quickly. That will also help, right? So ऐसा नहीं लगेगा कि सर ने सिर्फ MCQ करवा दिए, सर्कुलर छुड़वा दिया. भाई सर्कुलर कवर्ड है आपके YouTube चैनल पे, right? और सर इसके साथ सर्कुलर भी कराओ, इसीलिए मैंने क्या कर दिया, इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंटर्स भी दे दिए ताकि आपको ऐसा नहीं लगे कि सर्कुलर नहीं पढ़ा. नेक्स्ट वन, इंपॉर्टेंट. This is regarding the participation of the offshore non-deliverable derivative contracts. So recently RBI has authorized a new category of the authorized dealer banks, which is the category which was recently authorized to participate in the offshore non-deliverable derivative contracts. देखो ऑथराइज्ड डीलर कैटेगरी 1 तो ऑलरेडी अलाउड थी, तो अभी नई कैटेगरी कौन सी हो गई जिनको नई ऑथराइजेशन मिली है यहाँ पे? Any idea about that, guys? Yes, that is authorized dealer category 3. Authorized dealer category 3 बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है आपके एग्जाम के लिए, अच्छे से पढ़ के जाना. ठीक है, so this is from again a circular, participation of standalone primary dealer in the non-deliverable rupee derivative market, and here we can see that RBI has given a explicit permission to authorized dealer category 3 banks as well, right? Next one. In 2025, RBI has issued a new set of direction governing the authentication mechanism for the digital payment transaction. From which date these new RBI directions on the digital payment transaction authentication shall take effect for the domestic transaction? Any idea about this one, guys? This is regarding the authentication mechanism. Authentication mechanism जो हमने OTP verification वाला पढ़ा था, अगर याद हो आपको तो. किसी को याद नहीं आ रहा? Okay, Sudarshan and Atiti, option A. What about others? Guys, either 1st April 2026 is the correct choice. ठीक है, Happy New Financial Year, not Happy New Year. ठीक है, Happy New Financial Year. 1st April 2026. Next one. What about the card not present transaction? Let's suppose this is a card not present transaction. This is non-recurring in nature and this involves cross-border payment as well. So for that, the timeline is 1st of October 2026, right? The issuer needs to comply with the authentication direction by 1st October 2026. Okay. Next one. As per the latest mandate, what is the minimum authentication standard required for the digital payment transaction unless specifically exempted? So obviously ये आंसर तो मुझे बताना ही नहीं चाहिए, तो सबको आता होगा, राइट? हमने मल्टीपल टाइम्स कवर कर लिया है इसको. कौन सा ऑथेंटिकेशन मिनिमम रिक्वायर्ड है? यस, 2 फैक्टर ऑथेंटिकेशन, राइट? 2 फैक्टर ऑथेंटिकेशन रिक्वायर्ड है. जैसे आप अपना जीमेल लॉगिन करते हो तो पहले आपसे पासवर्ड पूछता है, फिर आपके फोन पे एक नोटिफिकेशन आता है, उसको आपको टैप करना पड़ता है, फिर वो लॉगिन देता है. दैट इज ऑल्सो अ 2 फैक्टर ऑथेंटिकेशन ओनली, राइट? दैट इज ऑल्सो अ 2 फैक्टर ऑथेंटिकेशन ओनली. लेट्स सपोज नाउ द कार्ड इज नॉट प्रेजेंट. Then what must be at least 1 factor of authentication be? The card is not present, so definitely there will be 2FA only. But in this 2FA, there should be at least 1 factor authentication from the following, which is the one: dynamic, biometric, static, location based, hardware based. Okay, so Aditi, Megha, Ruchika, Sachin, perfect. Dynamic or transaction specific. So can I say that? What do you mean by dynamic? जो आप OTP भेजते हो, a one-time password. The name says it all. This is one-time password. So obviously this is dynamic. This is a transaction specific. Very good, Satyarth. Okay, dynamic or transaction based. So these questions were from authentication mechanism for digital payment transaction. So guys, what I'm doing here is जितने भी आपके सर्कुलर है उसमें से जो पॉसिबल MCQs है मैं आपको इस लेक्चर के अंदर पढ़ा रहा हूँ फॉर द बेस्ट बेनिफिट. अगर आप इतना भी कर लेते हो ये 2 लेक्चर्स के अंदर, आपका बहुत बड़ा कवरेज हो जाएगा, राइट? आपको खुद को फील होगा ये सेशन करने के बाद, PDF रिवाइज करने के बाद, कि इसके अंदर हमने बहुत बड़ा कवरेज कर लिया है RBI सर्कुलर्स का, राइट? सो दिस इज द समरी एज वेल ऑफ द पर्टिकुलर सर्कुलर. नेक्स्ट वन, NABARD recently initiated a new structure to enhance the technological and operational efficiency among the cooperative banks through the shared infrastructure. This initiative aims to offer IT, payment and compliance service on a common platform. What is this proposed entity called? Very, very important. किस मंथ तक के सर्कुलर हैं? तो देखो अभी हम सितंबर के पढ़ रहे हैं, ठीक है? उसके बाद हम अगस्त के पढ़ेंगे, उसके बाद हम जुलाई के पढ़ेंगे, बीच बीच में हम RBI एनुअल रिपोर्ट के MCQ भी करेंगे, बीच बीच में हम फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट के MCQ भी करेंगे, ठीक है? तो ये बहुत ही जबरदस्त सेशन होने वाला है आप लोगों के लिए, क्योंकि यहाँ पे मैं 3 मंथ के तो सर्कुलर करवाने वाला हूँ और 2 बहुत बड़ी रिपोर्ट्स करवाने वाला हूँ. लेट्स सी कितना हम कर पाते हैं. अगर आज पूरा नहीं कर पाए तो डेफिनेटली मैं कल इसको कैरी फॉरवर्ड करूंगा और कल भी हम कम से कम 2-3 महीने के सर्कुलर्स यहाँ पे कर देंगे, राइट? सो इट विल बी अ फुल पावर पैक्ड सेशन जिसके अंदर आपके ऑलमोस्ट मैंने जो RBI सर्कुलर्स हैं एनीवेयर अराउंड 4 to 5 मंथ्स के वो रिवाइज कर लेंगे डिटेल में, और रिपोर्ट्स भी काफी सारी रिवाइज कर लेंगे. ओके, here the correct choice is shared service entity. Shared service entity is the correct choice, option B. Okay, option B is the correct choice. Perfect. Can you also tell me, if I am making an investment in the shared service entity, what kind of investment it will be? Can you categorize this investment, guys? Can you categorize this investment? What kind of investment it will be? Any idea about that? Most welcome, Aditi. Most welcome. Okay. Option B, priority sector. What about the others? Bhakti, non-SLR. Okay. Sudarshan, option C, non-SLR. Good afternoon, Bhakti. Non-SLR, perfect. Non-SLR is the correct choice here. Non-SLR is investment, right? Now, why there is a need of this circular? Because these entities cannot invest any percentage. I'm talking about cooperative banks. Cooperative banks cannot invest whatever percentage they want into a non-SLR investment, right? It is permitted only up to a particular percentage only. तो NABARD ने जो नई एंटिटी लेके आए इसको क्या बोला है गवर्नमेंट ने कि this will be treated at par with the non-SLR investment, और इसके अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट परमिटेड है. इसके अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट परमिटेड है. However, there is always a however. What is the ceiling limit on such kind of investment? It's not like that you can contribute whatever you want to do. There is a cap on it. can be important. There's a cap on it. Can you also tell me the cap, guys? What is the cap of this particular investment? The cap is of 5%. ठीक है, ये 5% बहुत बढ़िया फिगर है. हर जगह आप देखोगे घूम फिर के 5% आपके मल्टीपल सर्कुलर्स में आ रहा है. ठीक है, तो 5% कहीं लिखना और मल्टीपल सर्कुलर्स के वहाँ पे नाम लिख सकते हो आप. जैसे अगर मैं होता तो मैं यहाँ पे लिखता नाबार्ड, ठीक है, और शेयर्ड सर्विस एंटिटी लिख देता नाबार्ड एसएससी. तो मुझे याद रहता कि अच्छा इसके अंदर कैप कितना है, 5% का है. फिर उसके बाद डिफॉल्ट लॉस गारंटी का परसेंटेज भी 5% होता है, तो मैं वो भी यहाँ पे लिख देता. राइट. एक स्टूडेंट होता है जो अलग अलग सर्कुलर में जाके एक ही चीज पढ़ता है, और दूसरा स्टूडेंट होता है जो एक ही चीज को पढ़ता है और अलग अलग सर्कुलर खत्म हो जाते हैं. दूसरा वाला एग्जाम के अंदर ज्यादा स्कोर कर पाता है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट वन, वेरी सिंपल. जस्ट टेल मी द SDQI स्कोर फॉर जून 2025. कितनी बार कर चुके हैं? फाइनेंस, करंट अफेयर्स, RBI सर्कुलर, कहीं नहीं छोड़ा है वाला क्वेश्चन. What is the SDQI score for scheduled commercial bank for June 2025, guys? Sure. I would like to keep it in English only. Okay. 89.9% is the correct choice. Okay, 89.9% is the correct choice. Option A. So it will be a mix of English and Hindi. Major concepts I'll be delivering it in English only. Okay. I won't use Hindi for the concept delivery. Right. Can you also tell me which category of the banks have recorded the highest number of the SDQI score in June 2025? Category wise, tell me what was the bank, which was the bank having the highest number of SDQI? Public sector, private sector, small finance bank, regional rural bank, payment bank. What do you think? A very simple one. A very simple one. Yes, small finance bank, option B, perfect. Small finance bank. Also tell me which component showed the highest number in June 2025. अब एग्जाम के अंदर मार्च 2025 आता है या जून 2025 आता है, दोनों में the SDQI component will remain the same only because in the March also the same component was at the highest number, and in the June as well the same component was the highest one. Completeness, perfect. Completeness is the one. Okay, completeness is the one. Very good. So most probably in your examination, I think June 2025 का ही data आना चाहिए. Why? Because it's the most recent one, right? It's the most recent one. Next one. Also tell me the WMA limit set by Reserve Bank of India for half yearly 2 of financial year 2026. Half yearly 2 of financial year 2026. I'm talking about the WMA limit. WMA limit. That's correct. 50k crore, 50,000 crore is the limit. 50,000 crore is the limit, and RBI can also trigger a fresh flotation of the market loans for the government of India in case the government of India has exhausted what percentage of the WMA limit? What percentage of the WMA limit? 75%. Very good. 75%. If you have exhausted 75% of the WMA limit, this is just there to meet the cash flow mismatches, right? Government of India क्या करने लग गई? They started borrowing more and more. So RBI can trigger a fresh flotation. They can request Government of India कि यार you can also take the help of any other flotation loan rather than just using the WMA limit. Why? Because it's just there to manage your cash flow mismanagement, right? Next one. The Reserve Bank of India has issued new directions to simplify the process of claim settlement in case of deceased customer. These guidelines aim to standardize the procedure and timeline across all the categories of the banks. Under these guidelines, what is the prescribed threshold limit for the cooperative banks? This is regarding the claim settlement of the deceased customer. So there is a threshold that I told you can be very, very important for your examination. Here I am asking the threshold limit for the cooperative banks. For the cooperative banks. The correct choice here is 5 lakh rupees, right? For the cooperative, the limit is 5 lakh rupee. And what about others? What about others, guys? Other banks? 5 lakh for cooperative. What about others? That's 5 lakh for the cooperatives, and for the rest it is 15 lakh rupees. For the rest it is 15 lakh rupees. 15 lakh. Okay, so 5 lakh and 15 lakh is the threshold. Next one. When the account of a deceased customer does not have a nominee or survivorship clause, let's suppose there was Mr. A. Now Mr. A is no more. He's a deceased customer now. And the account is not having a nomination clause or a survivorship clause. The claim process differs based on the amount involved, right? Obviously based on the threshold. For claims up to a specific threshold, let's suppose the claim is within the threshold of 5 lakh or 15 lakh, whatever the case may be. Which document? The claimant must provide to prove the entitlement. The correct choice is legal heir certificate, right? Legal heir certificate is required, option C. And what about the cases when the amount is exceeding the threshold of 5 lakh 15 lakhs? Dekho, high chance hai ki what they are going to ask you in the examination is the threshold limit. Is the threshold limit and not the documents. Why? Because documents are more of a procedural thing, right? Changing based on the case to case basis. Ki nomination hai, nomination nahi hai, but as per my understanding, they can ask you the threshold, they can ask you the applicability date. Still we are covering the cases related to the documentation as well, so that there is no gray area in your examination कि सर ये हमने कवर नहीं किया था. Yes, succession certificate or legal heir certificate plus an affidavit by an independent person is a must. If your amount is exceeding the threshold limit, if your amount is exceeding the threshold limit of 5 lakh, 15 lakh, whatever the case may be, you need to give the succession certificate or the legal heir certificate plus an affidavit by the independent person. Can also be important. Within how many days must the claim be settled? Let's suppose the nominee or the authorized person of the deceased person has submitted all the documents. Now in how many days you need to settle the claim related to the deposits? Acha, aaj bahut zyada question I won't be marking as important. Why? Because all the questions are important only. Just imagine I have just covered all the circulars related to these 3 months, the RBI annual report, the financial stability report in just 200 to 300, anywhere around 250 MCQs, right? It's difficult to read all the circulars, annual report and financial stability report as a whole, but it's quite easy to do all the MCQs based on it, right? 15 days here will be the correct choice, guys. 15 days, please do remember this one, can be important for your phase 1 examination. 15 days, right? Let's suppose the bank or the regulated entity has not discharged the obligation. Then in that case, what will be the quantum of interest that needs to be paid for such a kind of delay that the regulated entity has made while making payment of the deceased person? Very good. Bank rate plus 4%. Bank rate plus 4%, option C, perfect. Next one. Also tell me the amount of penalty in case of any kind of delay. Let's suppose the deceased person was also having a locker. Now the nominee has already submitted the document, but regulated entity has not paid the amount. There are just involvement of some belongings of the deceased customer which is there in the locker. So obviously it's quite difficult to ascertain the amount. That's why there is a flat penalty. 5,000 rupee per day is the amount. 5,000 rupee per day. Perfect. Next one. India's valuation gain on foreign exchange reserves. I'm talking about the Q1 of financial year 2026, April to June, was primarily due to which of the following factor? Have a quick reading of all the options. Let me know in the comment section what is the driving reason of such a kind of valuation gain. Appreciation of rupee, depreciation of dollar, decline of oil import, depreciation of US dollar against major currencies and rise in the crude oil prices, appreciation of the US dollar against the major currencies and higher gold prices, fall in the value of volatility, fall in the rupee volatility and moderation in capital flows. C, D. Appreciation of US dollar against major currencies and higher gold prices. ठीक है? Option D is the correct choice. So Bhakti, Anurag, Mega, very good. Next one. During the April to June, again that quarter only, India's current account deficit narrowed as compared with the same quarter last year. While the capital inflows declined based on the RBI data, what were the approximate balances of these accounts in US dollar in billion terms? Option A is the correct choice, negative 2.4%, negative 2.4 as the current and 6.9% as the capital account, right? So there was a current account deficit. Next one. In the capital account of the same quarter, quarter 1 of financial year 2026, which of the following component recorded the highest positive contribution to the variation in reserves? Highest positive contribution to the variation in reserve. Now this can be complex, right? These questions can be complex. Why? They are too much data oriented questions. एक आ सकता है एग्जाम में, इसलिए करवा रहा हूं. Here the correct choice is option B, external commercial borrowing. This was having the highest positive contribution. Next one. Overall accretion to the reserves on the BOP basis, by how much did India's foreign exchange reserve increase on a BOP basis during the first quarter of 2026 as compared to the same period in 2024 or the previous year, right? It was option B, increase by US dollar 4.5 billion in 2025. Okay, $4.5 billion. How did the valuation changes in reserves differ between April to June as compared to this particular current quarter? How did the valuation change in the reserve differ as compared to the previous year? Was there a decrease? Was there as an increase? Remained constant? Was neutral in both the quarters? What do you think? Valuation gain increased from 0.4 billion to $25.3 billion in this particular quarter. Option B, right? So this is from the sources of variation in India's foreign exchange reserve during the first quarter of this financial year. Though it is not a part of your RBI circular, but I prefer to cover the RBI related news in the RBI circular series only, right? Next one. To promote flexibility in retail lending, RBI has allowed banks to modify the interest spread earlier than before. Earlier, bank could change the spread only after 3 years. Under the new amendment, in what context can the bank reduce the spread even before the 3 years? Can be important. Perfect. For customer retention, it should be on the justifiable grounds. It should not be based out of favoritism. Completely non-discriminatory grounds should be there, right? Option C. Next one. Under the modified framework for interest rate reset on EMI based personal loans, regulated entities now have flexibility in offering the fixed rate options. According to the new amendment, what change has been made to the requirement of offering such an option? So they are just saying that earlier, whenever you are changing the spread, you can give an option to the customer to switch to the fixed loan instead of the variable loan. Obviously spread है तो fixed loan पे variable loan पे चल रहे होंगे. Now we are giving option to the customer to choose a fixed rate loan as well. What changes have now been done in this particular amendment? So guys, it's optional at the discretion of the regulated entity. The regulated entity may or may not give such an option to shift to the fixed rate option now. Earlier it was written as shall. The regulatory entity needs to give the option, but now it is completely at the discretion of the regulated entity. It may or it may not, right? Next one. All the amendments related to the interest rate flexibility and spread reduction will become effective from which date? Any idea? October 2025, right? October 2025. So this was from the Reserve Bank of India interest rate on advances. This was our amendment direction in 2025, and I have summarized each and everything for you guys in the table. Just have a quick read by downloading this PDF. Have a quick look at this particular table, and that's sorted. Next one, the loan for purpose of gold are subject to specific restrictions to prevent the misuse of it. Under the revised norms, such loans by scheduled commercial banks, Tier 1 and Tier 4 UCBs are permitted only for which purpose? Are permitted only for which purpose? They are permitted for the working capital for businesses using gold as the raw material. Let's suppose I'm into the jewelry business. So why I am buying gold? For my working capital, because gold is my raw material. It's not an investment. I'm not buying it for speculative purpose, rather it's an investment, right? So option C, working capital for the business using gold as the raw material. I can take loan, but you cannot take loan for buying gold. Okay. Next one. Despite being a major consumer and importer of gold, India maintains strict restrictions on the bank financing. Okay, so I think this particular question is repeated again for working capital only. Okay, apologize for the same. This is repeated one. Okay, let's ignore this one. India has been progressively aligning with the global Basel III standards to enhance the resilience of its banking sector. Starting from 1st of October 2025, a key update will impact how certain capital instruments are treated. As per the new framework, what is the percentage, what is the maximum percentage, max percentage of risk-weighted assets that can be contributed by the PDIs issued overseas in 81 capital? Very very important. High chance कि ये question आपके examination में आ जाएगा. Now ये exam आपके phase 1 में भी आ सकता है. It can come in your phase 2 as well. Not sure कहाँ आना चाहिए, but a very high probability question. Option C, 1.5% is the correct choice. Very good. 1.5%. Okay. So next was not at all a circular, but it was there in your RBI website, and I love this concept particularly. Interoperable regulatory sandbox. So what things you guys need to study in this is the concept of interoperable regulatory sandbox. I already covered it in my finance current affairs series. So SEBI, RBI, IRDAI, PFRDA, right, IFSCA, different regulatory bodies are there. Let's suppose I am bringing a new product in the market, and the scope is falling with RBI, within the coverage of RBI, within the coverage of SEBI and IRDAI as well. Now we don't have to test my product again and again, right? I don't have to test my product again and again in different regulatory sandbox. Rather, there is a single shot interoperable regulatory sandbox in which I can test the product. Yes, IFSC के एग्जाम में आ गया था ये वाला, right? IFSC के एग्जाम में recently आया था same question. It was there in your RBI website as well. So now what I'm doing is I'll register myself in the interoperable regulatory sandbox because my product is falling in the area of multiple regulatory bodies, right? And do remember, PFRDA as of now is not having a regulatory sandbox of its own, but still it can participate in this IORS initiative, right? Now what you need to know here is what IORS is all about. What is the concept of principal regulator and associate regulator? Let's suppose majority of the features of my product is falling in the area of RBI, then RBI will be the principal regulator, SEBI and IRDAI will be the associate regulator. That's the concept. What you need to know here is the preliminary scrutiny. If I want to test my product in IORS, the preliminary scrutiny will be done by the FinTech Department of Reserve Bank of India. Detailed scrutiny will be done by the principal regulator, whosoever it may be, right? So that's the basic things you need to know here. That's why I have pasted this particular as it is from the RBI website. Can be important for your examination as well. They can ask you in this RBI exam as well, just like IFSCA recently asked this, right? Okay. Now we'll be covering some of the MCQs related to the RBI annual report. Okay, I won't be taking the annual report MCQs in one shot. Why? बहुत थोड़ा सा मोनोटनी हो जाएगा, राइट? इट विल क्रिएट मोनोटनी. सो मैं क्या करूँगा, आई विल डिस्कस आरबीआई एनुअल रिपोर्ट के कुछ क्वेश्चंस एमसीक्यूज, देन आई विल मूव टू सम अदर मंथ ऑफ आरबीआई सर्कुलर, देन आई विल अगेन रिविजिट द आरबीआई एनुअल रिपोर्ट के एमसीक्यूज, एंड देन we can also cover the financial stability report के MCQs as well, right? Let's start with a positive quotation. If you spend too much time thinking about a thing, you will never get it done, and that's completely correct. Make at least one definite move daily towards your goal. So even if you are not able to cover the circulars or any kind of news, still there is time. फटाफट से you can still cover the same thing, right? With this particular session. I won't advise you guys कि अभी आप detailed में जाओ हर चीज़ के. Rather, I'll advise you guys कि just have a quick reading about this particular PDF or whatever thing is pending like PIB or any other subject. Just do it with the monthly compilation. Just do it with the marathon session. It will add more value. In the context of the central banking operation, the fiscal monetary coordination often comes with a play through mechanisms such as surplus transfer. And can you guys tell me the surplus that the RBI transferred to the government of India for financial year 2025, marking a record high. So guys, I always tell you that reports are nothing but compilation of finance, current affairs and different things as well, right? So if you see at any report, what they will be reflecting is mostly the finance, current affairs and the normal current affairs related to insurance or related to finance only, right? 70% of the report is nothing but compilation only of finance, current affairs. Yes, option D, 2.69 lakh crore is the correct choice. Next one, can you also tell me under which section Reserve Bank of India is the annual report submitted to the central government? In which section annual report of RBI is submitted to the central government? Section 53 subsection 2. Okay, section 53 subsection 2 is the correct choice. Option D. We can have a look from here as well. On the face of the annual report, section 53 subsection 2. Okay, section 53 subsection 2. Next one. Which prescribed framework is mentioned in the para that governs the principle behind the surplus? Central banks maintain a risk shock to absorb the potential financial shocks without undermining its credibility. In India, the framework used to determine the risk provisioning and surplus transfer. Risk provisioning and surplus transfer, we won't be reading the para. Para-based questions are part of your phase 2 examination, right? Let's make it simple only. Let's make it direct only, because as of now, the whole focus should be on clearing the phase 1 examination. Option E, economic capital framework, which tells us how much risk provisioning is required, how much surplus transfer is required, right? Next one. By what percentage did the Reserve Bank of India balance sheet grow in financial year 2025 as compared to the previous year? Growth rate in the balance sheet of RBI. Growth rate in the balance sheet of RBI. That is 8.2%. 8.2% guys, option E. Okay, 8.2%. What was the revised contingency risk buffer CRB maintained by RBI for financial year 2025? Revised contingency risk buffer. Any idea about this one? Revised CRB, it's 7.5%. Okay, it's 7.5%. Option E is the correct choice. 7.5%. Okay, yes, 7.5%. Next one. Apart from risk buffers, the central banks also allocate internal resources for the long-term institutional development. One such internal reserve maintained by the RBI is aimed at financing its own infrastructure and capacity building needs. Which fund is maintained by RBI, which is used for its internal capital expenditure and institutional development? Important. सिक्स प्लस 1.5% था ना, 6 + 1.5% था. The correct answer here will be, guys, option C, asset development fund. इसको अच्छे से याद रखना, asset development fund is the correct choice here. Next one. What was the total size of the Reserve Bank of India's balance sheet as on 31st March 2025 as per its annual report? The total size of RBI's balance sheet as per the recently released annual report. ₹76.25 lakh crore. Okay, 76.25 lakh crore. Option A is the correct choice. 76.25 lakh crore. Next one. Which of the following are the sources of income for Reserve Bank of India? So here are the 4 sources. You need to tell me the correct answer. How the Reserve Bank of India is making the money. Now the sources are also there in your RBI's annual report, and it's quite straight question. It's a very straight question. Perfect. Only first and second are the sources of Reserve Bank of India, right? First and second. Perfect. A very easy question. Next one. Banking sector performance is crucial indicator for financial stability. Can you tell me one key metric which is nothing but GNPA ratio? Gross NPAs. What was the GNPA ratio of scheduled commercial banks as of March 2025? March 2025 GNPA. Option B, 2.8% is the correct choice, guys. 2.8%. Perfect. 2.8%. Option B. Next one. Foreign exchange reserves are key components of country's macroeconomic stability. What was the level of India's foreign exchange reserves at the end of March 2025? So what you need to know for your examination, the financial year end ka data, the current year month ka, last month ka data basically. Right? In your case, the last month will be September. Option A, $668.3 billion. $668.3 billion. Very good. Glad to see that you guys are still having the numbers in your mind. That's great. Next one. What was the UPI's share of global real-time payment volume in 2024 as reported by the Reserve Bank of India? UPI's share of global real-time payment. It was 48.5%, right? 48.5%. Next one. What was India's real GDP growth rate in financial year 2025, making it the fastest growing major economy? Quickly, guys. A very simple one. 6.5%, right? 6.5%. Very good. Gross value added, GVA, one of the key macroeconomic indicator used to assess the performance of different sectors in the economy. Which of the following best defines gross value added here? Which of the following defines best about the gross value added? Option E, value of output minus the value of intermediate consumption. Value of output minus the value of intermediate consumption. So I think only Mega and Sudarshan. Okay, only Mega and Sudarshan has given the correct choice here. Option E. Next one. Can you also tell me by what percentage did India's GVA grow by in financial year 2025? By what percentage did India's GVA grow in financial year 2025? What do you think? The correct choice here will be option A, 6.4%. Okay, 6.4% is the correct choice. 6.4%. Option A. Next one. Also tell me which sector registered the highest GVA growth in financial year 2025. We are having so many sectors in the GVA. Can you tell me the sector that registered the highest GVA growth? Highest GVA growth. Services, option D. Service sector was the one which was having the highest growth here. What was the GVA growth rate for agriculture and allied services in financial year 2025? So in your RBI's annual report, there was a focus on the GVA numbers. What was the GVA growth for the agriculture and the allied services in financial year 2025? Let's see who is able to answer this one. Okay, so Aditi, Vineet and Sachin. Option B, 4.6%. Very good, guys. Option C, 4.6% is the correct choice. Next one. What was the main reason for the sharp decline in the industry GVA during financial year 2025? We have seen that there was a sharp decline in the industry GVA during this particular financial year. What was the driving reason? What was the driving reason? It was driven due to manufacturing sector deceleration. Okay, manufacturing sector deceleration. Very good. So here are the real GVA growth numbers, right? We have discussed this particular table from the annual report of RBI in the annual report video as well. Not again rediscussing it. Why? Because it's not required as of now. This is a marathon session. We need to be quick. If you want to revise 200-250 questions, speed is what matters the most. Geopolitical tension and tariff uncertainties are increasingly shaping the global trade outlook. What is the projected contraction in the global merchandise trade in volume in 2025 under the adjusted scenario? 0.2%. Okay, 0.2%. Option E, 0.2%. Next one. Companies and the investors globally are increasingly focusing on the non-financial factors, like ESG is one of the factor. Can you tell me what is the full form of ESG? A very easy one and a very important one. That's environmental, social, governance, right? Environmental, social and governance, ESG. Sustainability rankings are increasingly influencing the investors' confidence in global partnership. What was India's rank in the Climate Change Performance Index in 2025? Important. More of a GA related question rather than the financial awareness related question still. Option C, among top 10. Option C. Next one. What is the electronic vehicle adoption target under the e-drive scheme for 2030? Electronic vehicle adoption target under the e-drive scheme for 2030. Any idea about this one, guys? 30%, perfect, 30%. Next one. Tell me the full form of BRSR, which is again closely related to ESG. BRSR. So many questions directly coming from this particular ESG BRSR related topic. Keep it in your strong zone. Phase 1 में नहीं आया तो it will help you in phase 2 examination. हो सकता है directly एक आपका descriptive question आ जाए BRSR ESG पे. The correct choice is business responsibility and sustainability reporting. Business responsibility and sustainability reporting. Okay, very very important for your examination. A very high probability question. Anything related to BRSR, ESG is important for your RBI Grade B examination, for your SEBI examination as well. Right? Can you tell me who is the regulator of BRSR? Who is governing the BRSR framework in India? Anyone? BRSR. अरे जल्दी करो यार, इतना टाइम नहीं ले सकते, कितना सब कुछ कवर करना है, राइट? टेल मी क्विकली हु इज द रेगुलेटर ऑफ BRSR. दिस इज 440 पेजेस का PPT एंड वी हैव डन जस्ट 100 पेजेस एज ऑफ नाउ. RBI और SEBI? SEBI, ओके, SEBI. ये भी एग्जाम में आ सकता है. SEBI. Consider the following statement. Reserve Bank of India mandates all the listed companies in India to submit a BRSR. No, false. It's not RBI, it's SEBI. ठीक है, BRSR के बारे में सब पढ़ लिया, यही पता नहीं है उसको रेगुलेट कौन कर रहा है, तो फिर कैसे मजा आएगा, कैसे आएगा, राइट? एग्जाम में डायरेक्टली दे कैन आस्क यू रेगुलेटर ऑफ BRSR, who is mandating all the listed companies to submit a BRSR report. That's SEBI. Okay. In India, companies submitting BRSR must make a disclosure in that report that are largely non-financial in nature. So only second statement is correct here. First one is incorrect. Why? Because RBI is not concerning with the BRSR. It's the SEBI, the Capital Market Regulator of India, mandating about the BRSR requirements. The G20 presidency rotates among the member countries. Which country took over the G20 presidency from India recently? Option A, Brazil, option A. Next one. By what percentage did the merchandise exports grow in financial year 2025? Financial year closure का data. Option A, 0.1%. Next one. With which country India has signed a MOU for the local currency settlement to promote the INR internationalization recently? So it was Maldives and Mauritius. Okay, it was Maldives and Mauritius. उसके बाद बहुत सारी दूसरी कंट्रीज से भी टाइप हो गए थे, तो ये वाला क्वेश्चन थोड़ा इरेलेवेंट हो जाएगा अब, क्योंकि और भी कंट्रीज हैं जिनसे टाइप हुए थे. नेक्स्ट वन. What was the India's merchandise trade deficit in financial year 2025? India's merchandise trade deficit in financial year 2025. It was $282.8 billion. $282.8 billion. Okay, $282.8 billion. Next one. Which of the following accounted for 43.3% of India's total trade deficit in financial year 2025? 43.3% of the total trade deficit in financial year 2025. The major driving reason of the India's total trade deficit, basically, it was oil. It was oil, obviously, right? अरे बाकी चीज़ें फर्टिलाइजर और इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गुड्स और मशीनरी हम ऑयल से ज़्यादा थोड़ी इंपोर्ट करेंगे, है ना? ऑयल इसका करेक्ट चॉइस है. नेक्स्ट वन. RBI highlighted a long-term sustainability risk. According to the report, the global public debt to GDP ratio is projected at to approach what percentage, what level by 2030? I'm talking about debt to GDP ratio, which is projected by 2030. The correct choice is 100%. 100%. Next one. How much did the second asset monetization plan in 2025 to 2030 expected to mobilize? Asset monetization. $10 lakh crore. 10 lakh crore. Next one, a very simple one, a very important one. Which multilateral initiative did RBI to join to enable the instant cross-border retail payments across the different countries in India? A very simple one. और important भी हो सकता है आपके लिए. Yes, Project Nexus, perfect. Project Nexus. So this is a general para-based question related to inflation. Let's see. What was the average headline inflation in India during financial year 2025? So this is the complete financial year 2025 ka data. What you guys need to remember is the financial year 2025 ka data plus the recent MPC meeting. That's it. Recent MPC meeting and the general trend of financial year 2025. 4.6%. Perfect. Option B, 4.6% is the correct choice. Okay. Next one. Which component of inflation was deflationary in India during the financial year 2025? Which component was deflationary? Again, a very simple one. Fuel inflation. ठीक है, sometimes it was food as well, but broadly in 2025 आपका fuel inflation जो है वो deflationary consistently रहा था. कभी कभी बीच बीच में food भी रहा था. What was the primary reason for this particular trend? What kind of trend? Energy prices significantly impact the inflation, specifically in the developing economies. Fuel price trends play a role in the deflationary or inflationary condition. Fuel price inflation was deflationary at 2.5% in the financial year 2025. This was due to the reduction in the LPG and the kerosene prices due to softer ग्लोबल एनर्जी प्राइसेस. राइट, तो जो आपने फूड इन्फ्लेशन के बारे में बताया था वो इस वाले फाइनेंशियल ईयर में ज़्यादा ट्रेंडी रहा था. पिछले फाइनेंशियल ईयर में आपका फ्यूल वाला जो था दैट वाज अ डिफ्लेशनरी फॉलिंग आइटम. नेक्स्ट वन, ये हम कर चुके हैं ऑलरेडी. राइट, द नेम ऑफ द प्लेटफॉर्म इज CIMS, सेंट्रलाइज्ड इंफॉर्मेशन मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम स्किपिंग इट. नेक्स्ट वन. We all know that in the Q4 of financial year 2025, Reserve Bank of India has actively responded to the liquidity conditions in the banking system. So for that, RBI did an swap. You are right, RBI did a swap like USD by INR buy and sell swap during Q4 of 2025. Can you tell me what kind of liquidity RBI injected by doing the swap? Perfect. Durable liquidity. Good to see that all of you have given the right choice. Durable liquidity. Next one. Liquidity conditions in Indian financial system are influenced by various factors including the fiscal operation, capital movement, public demand for cash. Which of the following were the major drivers of liquidity during 2025? I'm talking about the whole financial year, as observed by the Reserve Bank of India. It was option B. Volatile cash flows, pickup in CIC, currency in circulation, and increase in the Government of India cash balances. Right? This is again from the annual report only. Next one. What was the growth in India's merchandise imports during financial year 2025? I'm talking about imports. Option D 6.2%. Option D 6.2%. Next one. Foreign direct investment reflects long-term investor confidence and strategic capital inflows. How much FDI inflow was recorded in India during financial year 2025? FDI inflow during 2025. It was option B, $0.4 billion. $0.4 billion. Next one. What was the net foreign portfolio investor inflow in financial year 2025? Too much data from the annual report of RBI, right? The net foreign portfolio investment inflows in financial year 2025 was $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion. Average inflation, average CPI inflation during 2025 as reported by RBI. Any idea about this one? ये तो straight है. This one is quite straight. 4.6%. Okay, option B, 4.6%. Option B. Very good, Vineet. Option B. Next one. Which tool was primarily used by the Reserve Bank of India on a fine-tuning basis to absorb the excess liquidity during the financial year 2025? We want to absorb the excess liquidity. Which tool we can use for absorbing the excess liquidity? Obviously, we are going to use the VRRR, variable rate reverse repo. VRRR, absorbing the excess liquidity. Next one. Which specific instrument was reintroduced by Reserve Bank of India in half year 2 of financial year 2025 to better manage the short-term liquidity condition? So they have introduced a 14 days VRRR auction. And do you guys remember that in the latest internal review report of Reserve Bank of India, we have switched from 14 days to now what? 14 days to what? Very good, 7 days. है ना? इसका आंसर 14 days है. But now, as per the internal review report of RBI related to the liquidity adjustment facility, they have stated it's better to use the 7-day VRRR auction instead of 14-day. Right? वो भी याद रखना. That is more important for your examination rather than this question. Next one. Which of the following were identified as the key factors behind the liquidity tightening in 2025? We were struggling with liquidity in 2025. The driving reasons for the liquidity: GST outflow, increase in the currency in circulation, and slowdown in the government expenditure. Because of the GST also, there was a huge liquidity crunch. A very simple one. Let's suppose if I am a regulated entity, I want to submit an application to the Reserve Bank of India. I will be doing it via what platform? This can directly come in your phase 1 examination. A very simple one. Prava portal, right? Option B, Prava portal. A very straight question, a very simple question. We have done it multiple times. I can say hundreds of times we have done it. Next one. In 2025, the scope of e-rupee wholesale pilot was expanded to include which additional market participants? Important. Standalone primary dealer, SPD, right? Standalone primary dealer. Very good. Next one. What percentage of the adjusted net bank credit or CEOBSE was reported as scheduled commercial banks total priority sector lending as on March 2025? It was 43.1%. Okay, 43.1%. So scheduled commercial bank has achieved 43.1% PSL, exceeding the mandate threshold. The mandate threshold is 40% only, but the actual data was 43.1% that they have achieved as per the RBI annual report, right? Next one. By what percentage did the scheduled commercial banks credit to the MSME sector grow in financial year 2025 as per the RBI annual report? Yeah, I got it. I can see that so many students are asking 40%. So मैं समझ गया था कि आप लोग लिमिट आंसर कर रहे हो. $14.8%, guys. Option A, 14.8% is the correct choice. as per the RBI annual report. Next one. What was the value of RBI's financial inclusion index? Very simple, for March 2024. It was 64.2. In what factor contributed to the most? It was the usage. It was the usage factor that contributed to the most. Okay guys, so we have completed half of the questions. If I talk about the RBI annual report, I am not taking सारे के सारे questions at once. Okay, why? Because it will be too much data powered session. And please do remember, whatever questions you are unable to answer, just mark it down. Just mark the keyword of that question and revisit those questions, right? Let's discuss about the August 2025 MCQs on the RBI circular now. Let's start with a positive note again. Why? Because इतने बड़े session में I feel that there's some positivity should be there again and again. Otherwise, there are so many things that you guys need to study for your examination. Let's make it positive. Those who keep learning will keep rising in life. A very famous quote by Mr. Charlie Munger. Recently, सर की डेथ हुई थी, राइट? वॉरेन बफे सर के कंपनी के अंदर बहुत ही मेजर रोल प्ले किया था सर ने. ओके, इफ यू गाइज रिमेंबर, अ लेजेंडरी इन्वेस्टर बेसिकली. So these are the circulars that we need to cover for the August 2025 month, and let's quickly start. I can say that some of the circulars are very crucial. The very first one, as per the direction related to the co-lending practices, how many regulated entities are allowed to participate together in the co-lending arrangement? A very simple question. Co-lending arrangement में कितने लोग participate कर सकते हैं? How many people can participate? How many entities can participate in the co-lending arrangement? A very simple one. Quite straight. Co means two. Two regulated entities can participate in it. Can you also tell me the date from which this co-lending direction is going to be effective? Date. Happy New Year, right? 1st January 2026. Perfect. 1st January 2026. According to these guidelines, CLAs are applicable to all except which of the following? Except which of the following? Except the small finance banks, local area banks, regional rural banks. CLA arrangement is not applicable on this particular category. Rest need to follow the co-lending arrangement, right? There is an agreement which is a pre-arranged agreement in this particular circular, which is called as ex-ante agreement, if you guys remember. Ex-ante agreement. So here I have given you a case study. You just need to find out who is the partner RE. So IDFC Bank and the SBI has entered into a co-lending arrangement. SBI Bank is responsible for sourcing the borrower, right? And IDFC again is contributing the agreed proportion. So obviously IDFC Bank will be the partner RE. SBI Bank is sourcing the borrower. So it's the source bank. IDFC Bank will be the partner RE. Tell me which of the following statements related to the borrower loan agreement under the co-lending arrangement is or are incorrect. You need to identify the incorrect statement from the following. Read the following statements and let me know quickly in the comment section. Which one is incorrect? The incorrect are none of the above. All these statements are correct, right? Perfect. All these statements are correct. Next one. According to the RBI guidelines, what treatment must be applied to unrealized profit from the CLAs in the NBFC accounting? So it's a detailed question. बहुत ही घुस के question पूछा गया है. What we need to do is deduct it from the CET1 or the net own funds until the maturity. So I don't think कि ये phase 1 में आना चाहिए. Rather it will be a perfect question for your phase 2. Still I am covering this one as well. Right? Nobody knows क्या आने वाला है phase 1 में, phase 2 में. As per the guidelines, the partner RE must take its share back to back and must irrevocably commit at the time of the agreement. You need to irrevocably commit at the time of agreement. You cannot revoke from the agreement once you have entered it, right? Next one. What mechanism is used to process all the transaction between the borrower and the regulated entities in the co-lending arrangement? What mechanism is used? It's quite straight. It's an escrow account, right? It's done via an escrow account. Whatever transactions you are processing, it needs to be routed through an escrow account. Next one. Within how many days, within how many calendar days after disbursement must the loan be transferred to the partner RE? Can be important. Within 15 calendar days. Okay, within 15 calendar days. तो अब देखो 15 वाली लिमिट को याद रखने का एक मेमोरी टेक्निक. द 15 लिमिट इज कॉमन इधर भी, और डिसीज कस्टमर वाले के अंदर भी आपको 15 डेज के अंदर लॉकर को आपको कस्टडी देना पड़ता है. Within 15 days, you need to discharge your liabilities regarding any kind of outstanding deposit in case of a deceased customer. So इस तरह से लिंक करके पढ़ना है. इस तरह से लिंक करके पढ़ोगे तो you will be able to carry more and more things in the examination hall. नहीं तो क्या होगा, घर पे ही रह जाएगी आधी चीज़ें. ब्रेन में तो जा रही है पर वहाँ तक कैरी नहीं कर पाओगे. So that's why I always try to connect. Next one. What is this combined interest rate called, which is there in the CLA arrangement? It is called as blended interest rate, right? Blended interest rate. Maximum DLG. बता दो यार, बहुत ही सिंपल है. Maximum DLG guys. Maximum DLG. बहुत ही simple question. That's 5%, right? Maximum DLG is 5%. Perfect. 5%. Which of the following statement is correct regarding the minimum retention share in the case of co-lending arrangement? Here are some of the statements in front of you. You just need to tell me the correct statement. The correct statement. Even if you are aware of the fact that what is the minimum share retention, in both the case, you will be able to directly answer this particular question rather than reading all the options. Yes, option C, you need to have a bare minimum of 10%, right? Let's suppose I am a partner RE, I can exit from that contract, but I need to still have a minimum 10% holding. Otherwise, if I don't have a skin in the game, I won't be interested in the co-lending arrangement, right? That defeats the whole purpose. That's why there is a bare minimum requirement of 10%. Can directly come in your examination, phase 1 as well as phase 2. Next one. What should have been the correct compliance approach if the two regulated entities entered into CLA? The originating RE disbursing the entire amount upfront. However, the partner RE took the share in its book in 21 days. Obviously, this is not correct treatment. Why? Because you need to book the share, that too within 15 days, right? You need to book the share within 15 days. We have already covered this one. Next one. Which of the following best explains the correct approach as per the CLA guidelines? As per the CLA guidelines. Here are some of the statements. Just have a quick look at the statements and let me know the correct choice. Yes, C. If one entity has classified the loan as a NPA or a SMA, another entity also needs to do the same only. Obviously, you cannot apply different classification norms on the same category of loan in a co-lending arrangement. ये हमको पता ही है 10% is the minimum retention ratio, right? Next one. Retail direct scheme related question. In 2025, a new feature was introduced in the retail direct portal, especially in the treasury bill. Any idea about this one? What is this feature? A very straight one. It was a facility which was related to auto bidding facility, right? Yes, auto bidding facility in the retail direct platform, specifically in the T-bills, treasury bills. SRVA stands for Special Rupee Wash-Through Account, right? We call it Special Rupee Wash-Through Account. Can you also tell me the structure of the Special Rupee Wash-Through Account? What is the concept behind this Special Rupee Wash-Through Account, guys? A domestic bank holding rupee deposits on behalf of a foreign bank to facilitate the trade is the special rupee was-through account, right? Next one. The monetary policy stance. Okay, so I am ignoring the monetary policy related question. Why? Because October के अंदर जो monetary policy आई है वही आपको पढ़नी है, ठीक है, वही आपको पढ़नी है. So for August month I am ignoring the monetary policy वाले question. जो latest monetary policy है वो आपको पढ़नी है. Next one. Now a CTS related question was there in your examination directly. To improve the check clearing efficiency in the IFSCA. Okay, high chances कि RBI phase 1 के अंदर भी आएगा. RBI is moving towards real-time settlement, right? And this was the question earlier, which we used to follow a batch processing system, and we transitioned to the real-time settlement system, right? Finance current affairs में ditto same question किया था हमने. I hope आप IFSC में answer कर पाए होंगे. For those who are giving the IFSC examination. Implementation timeline was 1st of October 2025. So recently implement हो चुका है. I will advise you guys कि आपको second phase की timeline ज़्यादा अच्छे से पता होनी चाहिए rather than first phase की now, because first phase तो already implement हो चुका है, right? Who is the drawee bank in the check truncation in the check transaction system in the context of the CTS? Who will be the drawee bank? भाई सीधी सी बात है, the bank on which the check is drawn. जिस बैंक के चेक पे आप ड्रॉ करते हो, let's suppose this check is of SBI bank, then SBI bank will be the drawee bank. Simple, right? Yes, 3rd of January आती है ना, 3rd of January is the second phase का timeline. Under the continuous clearing system being implemented by Reserve Bank of India, the presentation session, I am talking about the presentation session for the bank, which is clearly defined. What is the timing? Presentation session. Presentation session. 10 to 4. 10 to 4 is the correct choice, right? 10 to 4. In what about the confirmation session? Timing for the drawee bank confirming as per the new guidelines. It will be from 10 to 7. It will be from 10 to 7. Okay. Option C, 10 to 7. Perfect. 10 to 7. If a drawee bank does not respond within the prescribed time, what will be the status of the check? No matter if we don't get a response, no response is also a response. We will deem to be approved. The check will be deemed to be approved, right? The check will be deemed to be approved. Option D is the correct choice. No response is also a response. Next one. What is the maximum permissible delay for customer credit after the settlement? The check clearing system mandates prompt credit to the customer accounts after the settlement. Once there is a settlement between the presenting bank and the drawee bank, what is the maximum permissible delay? It is 1 hour. It is 1 hour. Option C, 1 hour is the correct choice. Okay. Next one. In the phase 2 of the check truncation system, each check carries a item expiry time. What is the prescribed expiry time in this particular phase 2? अच्छा, इसके फेज 1 फेज 2 अच्छे से याद कर लेना, है ना. क्वेश्चन आ गया तो आपको फेज 1 से फेज 2 आरबीआई का ये वाले फेजेस ही ले जाने वाले, ठीक है. द करेक्ट चॉइस हियर विल बी T+3 clearing hours. T+3 clearing hours. Next one. So this is from the check truncation system, a very important guideline from the batch processing system, continuous processing पे आए और यही आपका IFSC के अंदर क्वेश्चन आया था, ठीक है. And I have given the summary pointers as well. Just download this PDF and have a quick reading about the summary pointers as well for best understanding. Next one. Bank extend different types of facilities to the customer. Which of the following would not be classified as the NFB, non-fund based facility? Non-fund based facility देख के समझ में आ रहा है कौन सी non-fund based facility can be important. Non-fund based facility. Working capital term loan is a fund based facility. It is not at all a non-fund based facility, right? So option D is the correct choice here. Next one. According to the NFB directions, according to these directions, which of the following is excluded from the applicability? Excluded from the applicability. None of the above, all are included in the applicability. Next, what is the effective date of this particular direction? So this direction is starting from 1st of April 2026. So happy new financial year, right, is the keyword here. Happy new financial year, option C, 1st of April 2026. Next one. What is the maximum total guarantee limit allowed for UCBs, RRBs, LABs, STCBs and CCBs? Important. Can be important. Can be important. %5 of the total assets, right? 5% of the total assets. Perfect. Next one. To enhance the credit rating and promote the bond market participation, RBI permits banks to extend partial credit enhancements as well for a single regulated entity. What is the maximum PCE limit on a bond issue size? Important. Direct question can come. %50 of the bond issue size, right? 50% of the bond issue size. For those who are not aware about what partial credit enhancement is, let me just quickly tell you. Let's suppose I'm launching my bond, and if a bank is giving me a backing that if you are not able to repay your bond money to the bondholders, maybe interest, maybe principal, bank is giving a guarantee that I will take care of that obligation. So maximum PCE can be up to 50%, right? It enhances the credibility of my bond. Combined PCE limit. We have discussed about the individual for a single regulated entity PCE limit. Can you guys tell me the combined PCE limit as well? Both the questions important. And there is a twist in the story. Both the question is having the answer of 50% only, so it doesn't matter it's a single entity or a combined entity, the answer will be 50%, right? 50%. Next one. Which of the following statement is correct as per the RBI guidelines on issuance and conversion of the NFB facility? First one. Regulated entities are permitted to issue NFB facility to the entities assuring repayment of public deposit if fully collateralized. Option B. Once a NFB facility devolves, it continues to be treated as a NFB prudential norms until repaid. NFB facility are freely issued to back repayments of bonds issued by the corporates without the RBI approval. Option D. RBI strictly prohibits RE from issuing the NFB facility that assures repayment of funds raised through deposits, bonds, etc. unless specifically allowed by RBI. Contradictory options. Option E. NFB facilities are not subject to any prudential treatment even after they devolve. The correct choice will be option D. Option D is the correct statement. For issuing the NFB facility that assures repayment of funds raised through deposits, bonds, we need a specific permission of Reserve Bank of India. Option D. Which of the following scenario would not qualify as an exception to the requirement of having a fund-based facility for the issuance of a non-fund-based facility? Now, the crux of the circular is you can give only non-fund-based facility to those clients only that are having a fund-based facility with your entity. But there are some exceptions. Which of the following is not an exception? There's a list of exception. Very complex question, I can say. In the examination, I will say only 5 to 10% of the students will be able to answer this one. A complex question, बहुत ही डिटेल में ज़्यादा जाके पूछ लिया है, ठीक है, कर लो तो बहुत बढ़िया है, नहीं कर पाओ तो कोई बात नहीं, फेज 2 के हिसाब से कर लेना, राइट. आई फील दैट फेज 2 रिलेवेंट क्वेश्चन है ये वाला थोड़ा. ऑप्शन डी, issuing a performance guarantee to a borrower with no fund based relationship with any RE and no security. Complex है. जिसने बहुत डिटेल में जाके सर्कुलर को पढ़ा है वही आंसर कर पाएगा. अकॉर्डिंग टू द RBI guidelines, which of the following non-deposit taking NBFC is eligible to receive partial credit enhancement from a scheduled bank or an AIFI? Very, very important for your examination for phase 1 as well. Important. Option D, an NBFC with asset size of 1000 crore registered with Reserve Bank of India, including the HFCs. Option D, perfect. Next one. What is the maximum allowed outstanding unsecured guarantee for these institutions? I'm talking about UCBs, RRBs, LABs and STCBs and CCB as a percentage of the total assets. Maximum allowed outstanding guarantees. I think this one is repeated. We have already done it, 1.25%, right? You guys have also stated it correctly earlier. 1.25% is the correct choice. अच्छा, रेगुलेटरी सैंडबॉक्स का जो अपडेट आया था अगस्त का 2025 का, प्लीज डू रिमेंबर इट वाज ऑन थीम न्यूट्रल. द एंटिटी जिसका प्रोडक्ट आरबीआई को वायबल लगा था, दैट वाज इंडियन बैंक्स डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनी प्राइवेट लिमिटेड. इट वाज वर्किंग ऑन अ ब्लॉकचेन बेस्ड प्रोडक्ट, राइट. शायद 1.25 वाला भी हुआ था, आई रफली रिमेंबर, इसलिए मुझे लगा कि रिपीट हो गया है. अच्छा, उसके बाद व्हाट एल्स यू नीड टू रिमेंबर, आरबीआई बुलेटिन, ठीक है. केवाईसी डायरेक्शन ऑल्सो वी हैव कवर्ड. बीएसआर 1 का आपको पता होना चाहिए. इट इज बेसिक स्टेटिस्टिकल रिटर्न विच इज ऑन क्रेडिट, राइट, विच इज ऑन क्रेडिट. So the major things you need to please remember from the BSR 1 report as well, which is related to credit, and BSR 2 जो आपकी report थी, which is related to deposits, right, which is related to deposits, and which bank is outperforming what, public sector bank, private sector bank, ये दोनों चीजें भी आपको याद रखनी है. So later on आप इस PDF से पढ़ सकते हो. Let's start the July 2025 part. And here is a very famous quote from Mr. Elon Musk: when something is important enough, you do it, even if the odds are not in your favor. You guys can also think like, sir, there are so many questions related to RBI, there is PIB, there is general awareness, there is what not in RBI Grade B syllabus. But if it is important to you, then this is the last week. Maximize your efforts as much as you can is what I can say, right? You try to utilize every minute of your day. RBI circular MCQs related to July 2025. So अभी तक हमने क्या क्या किया है, September 2025, August 2025 RBI circular के MCQs हमने सारे कंप्लीट कर लिए. आधी रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया की एनुअल रिपोर्ट भी वी हैव डन, राइट. एनुअल रिपोर्ट रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस एज वेल वी हैव डन, बट हाफ ओनली. नाउ जुलाई 2025 के RBI circular MCQs के बारे में डिस्कशन करते हैं. A recent RBI directive focuses on the individuals and micro and small enterprises from certain practices in the lending ecosystem. Based on this particular framework, identify the primary concern of these directions. Primary concerns of these direction. Any idea about this one, guys? This was related to prepayments. This was related to prepayments. Protection against the unfair prepayment. If I am prepaying my loan, some direction should be there to protect my interest as well, right? So from which date these provisions are going to come into effect? First January 2026, okay, 1st January 2026. As per these rules, the coverage of these directions extend to which of the category of loan? I'm talking about the prepayment charges direction, RBI guidelines on the prepayment charges. It is on the floating rate loans only, right? It is on the floating rate loans only. Certain borrower categories enjoys complete freedom from the prepayment charges irrespective of the involvement of co-obligants. This provision applies to non-business purpose. For which type of borrower this rule is specifically applicable? For micro and small enterprise only, for large corporates with floating rates loan, for individual borrowers, for JVs and NBFC participants, partnership operating in tier 3 location. The correct choice is individual borrowers, right? जिसने थोड़ा बहुत भी पढ़ा है उसको पता चलता होगा ये. For certain regulated entities like SFBs, RRBs can be important. Tier 3 UCBs, CCBs, NBFCs, middle layer. There is an exemption. There is a conditional exemption from the prepayment charges up to a particular limit. Can you guys tell me the limit? Can you guys tell me the limit? Yes, the limit is 50 lakh rupees, right? Very good. 50 lakh rupees. RBI's prepayment rules ensure that the borrower benefit from flexibility without unnecessary restrictions. The applicability holds true in multiple scenarios, including when the repayment is partial or full from any kind of source and without a lock-in period. Which of the following statements correctly reflects the applicability? Read this particular question. I'm just coming in few seconds only, okay? I'm coming in few seconds only. Just try to answer this particular question. Okay guys, so the correct answer here is all are correct only, right? Everything is mentioned in the circular itself related to this particular question. All the statements are correct only. Next one. In the context of the cash credit and overdraft facility, the Reserve Bank of India stipulates that charges on closure before the due date should be calculated on a specific measure only, ensuring the fairness to the borrower. What is this basis of charging is all about? Up to the sanctioned limit. It should be up to the sanctioned limit only. That's the correct answer. Up to the sanctioned limit only. Next one. If a regulated entity itself initiates a prepayment, perhaps due to restructuring or recovery consideration, what does the RBI specify regarding the imposition of the prepayment charges in such kind of cases? There won't be any kind of charges. Why? Because the regulated entity itself is initiating a request of prepayment, right? That's why there won't be any kind of charges from the borrower. This is regarding the novation in the OTC derivative, which is a draft direction, right? Which is a draft direction. So as of now, I'm not taking this one. Why? Because it is a draft direction first of all, right? I have taken it multiple times, plus ideally it should not be a part of marathon, but still I am keeping this in the PDF so that you guys can quickly revise this one as well, right? So I'm skipping the OTC novation derivative contract. Okay. RBI's Financial Inclusion Index for March 2025 reflected improvement in different dimensions. There are 3 dimensions, right? Access, usage, quality. Which parameter was primarily responsible for the improvement in this particular time for March 2025? For March 2025. Improvement is there. in which areas? It was there in the quality and usage, right? In quality and usage dimensions. You need to identify which statement here is true. Yes, I have added some of the numericals from the RBI bulletins as well. Though Mannat ma'am is doing a separate session on the RBI bulletin on YouTube. You must have seen that as well, right? So it will go hand in hand only. I have added some of the questions only from the bulletin part and not exclusive, right? So you need to identify the correct statement from the following. The first one is Financial Inclusion Index is compiled and released by Ministry of Finance every quarter, sorry. The FI index measures the financial inclusion based on access, usage, quality. That looks fine. The index of March is 67, indicating progress in the literacy and the usage. Quality parameters in the index refers to the grievance redressal, financial literacy and customer protection. The correct choice here will be only second, third and fourth. Second, third and fourth. First one is not correct, right? First one is obviously not correct. Next, arrange these three parameters in the descending order of their weights in the index composition. The correct choice will be D. Highest weight is of usage, then access, and then last is quality. Right? Usage, access, and quality, UAQ. Next one. Can you tell me the name of a new credit rating agency that RBI has recently permitted in addition to the existing ones for risk weighting at IFSC centers under the Basel III capital regulations? Yes, that's correct. CareEdge Global IFSC Limited, option D. Option D. CareEdge Global IFSC Limited is the name of the entity. Right? Is the name of the entity. Next one can be important. What is the minimum permissible investment in the AIF by an investor? So we all know that it is 1 crore. It is 1 crore. If you want to invest in a AIF, the limit is 1 crore. As per the AIF guidelines, which RBI recently released, which of the following best defines the definition of the debtor company? Which of the following best defines the definition of the debtor company here? That is a company to which the regulated entity has given a loan or investment exposure, that too within the last 12 months. Please do remember this thing. Only in the last 12 months, if you have given a loan or investment exposure in this particular company, then it will be treated as a debtor company, right? Option B. Perfect. From which date the AIF investment related rules that RBI recently published are going to come into effect? From 1st January 2026. Happy New Year is the code. Right? Tell me this one. What is the collective limit as a percentage of the AIF corpus? Important. Anything related to AIF, PMS, SIF, ESG, BRSR, छोड़ना ही मत. इन टॉपिक से रिलेटेड है तो डायरेक्टली एग्जाम में आ सकता है. %20%. Okay, 20% is the correct choice. Next one. Let's suppose some units are considered as a high risk due to the prepayment priority structure. When a regulated entity invests in such kind of units, I'm talking about the subordinated units of that AIF, the entire investment must be deducted from a particular capital. What kind of capital? Both tier 1 and tier 2 capital. Tier 1 and tier 2 capital. We have discussed this in the circular as well earlier. Acha, tell me this one. Can be important for your examination. If a regulated entity invests more than 5% in an AIF, and that AIF is also investing in a debtor company of the regulated entity, what percentage of provisioning is required in this particular case? What will be the percentage of provisioning that you need to make? That will be 100%, right? That will be 100%. Perfect. Next one. The DPI, Digital Payment Index. Which period is the base year for the DPI? Which year is the base year for the DPI? That's March 2018. March 2018, right? Please do remember this one, March 2018. Can you also tell me the index value which was recorded in March 2025 DPI? March 2025 DPI value, it was 493.22. 493.22. Perfect. 493.22. Which parameter is holding the highest weight in the index of DPI, Digital Payment Index? Highest weight. Come on guys, highest weight. It is payment performance. At the end of the day, it's just the performance of the payment that matters, having the highest weightage. Okay. Next one. I'm here talking about merchant acceptance touchpoints, POS terminals, bank agents, and other transaction points. What category I'm talking about? In the different parameters, what kind of category I'm talking about? POS terminals, bank agents, acceptance touch points. I'm talking about the supply side. अरे POS terminals ही नहीं होंगे, supply ही नहीं है तो demand कैसे होगी? बैंक के agents ही नहीं होते हैं. How they will be able to create that kind of supply? Next one. Here I'm talking about the number of debit cards and credit cards, wallets, UPI users, digital literacy levels. What kind of parameter I'm talking about? I'm talking about the demand side here, right? I'm talking about the demand side here. What is the demand of debit cards and credit cards? Higher the demand, higher will be the number of debit card and credit card. Higher will be the number of wallets. Higher will be the number of UPI users, right? Next one. Now this is from a speech of a Deputy Governor of Reserve Bank of India. I don't know whether it's important or not. I feel like including this as well in the marathon session, plus I have covered this in the circular session as well. You guys at least need to have a basic understanding of what MRV is all about. This is in relation with the climate finance for the net zero goal. This is topic related to climate finance. So that's why I'm quite concerned about this topic. Can be important. It is monitoring, reporting and verification. Monitoring, reporting and verification. Option B. Now tell me this one. Green finance discussion identified two broad enablers for mobilizing the funds. One category consists of mechanisms that are internal to the financial system. What kind of systems are internal to the, what kind of enablers are internal to the financial system? Perfect. Option A. There is a endo in this particular enabler. Endo, internal. Please do remember this one as well. Now this is from the speech of RBI Governor. I don't know whether it's going to be important or not. But अगर मुझे चांस मिलता पेपर में क्वेश्चन डालने का तो मैं डेफिनेटली ये वाला क्वेश्चन डालता, राइट? बिकॉज इट्स रिलेटेड टू क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस. आरबीआई डेप्यूटी गवर्नर की स्पीच में है, आरबीआई की वेबसाइट पे है. समवेयर और द अदर इट्स रिलेटेड टू योर कोर्स ओनली. व्हाट अबाउट द एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स, external support mechanism, enablers related to external support mechanism like risk capital, like concessional fundings, like institutional harmonization. Any idea about this one, guys? Now these two questions are quite rare. अगर ये एग्जाम में आते हैं तो they will give you a direct competitive advantage. देयर इज अ एक्सो इन इट, एक्सटर्नल. सो इस तरह से आप याद कर सकते हो. इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट you need to memorize only. We can clearly see that they are relatable with internal as well as external, right? Option B here is the correct choice. So this is from the Green Finance for net zero goals, a speech which was there in July 2025 month, delivered by the Deputy Governor of Reserve Bank of India. Can be important. Let's start with the rest of the questions related to your RBI annual report. The mind is everything, what you think you become. So try to feed positive thoughts only in this last week. Why? Because managing your studies is not the only matter. Managing pressure is also one of the things that you need to take care of just before the examination. ज़्यादा पढ़ने वाला नहीं, ज़्यादा प्रेशर को मैनेज करने वाला ज़्यादा बेटर से एग्जाम दे सकता है, क्योंकि पढ़ाई लगभग सबने वही की है, राइट. दिस सेशन इज ओपन टू ऑल. इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट कि मैंने आप में से कुछ 4-5 लोगों को ही ये सेशन दिया है, बाकी को नहीं दिया. इट्स ओपन टू ऑल, राइट. सो प्रेशर मैनेज करना सीखो लास्ट के वीक में. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा MCQ प्रैक्टिस करो, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा समरी नोट्स प्रैक्टिस करो, रैदर गोइंग इनटू टू मच डिटेल ऑफ ईच एंड एवरीथिंग. लेट्स कंक्लूड MCQs रिलेटेड टू RBI एनुअल रिपोर्ट पार्ट 2. Part 1 थोड़ी देर पहले we have concluded. This is the part 2. Rest of the MCQs will be covering. In the recent years, the UPI Unified Payment Interface has emerged as a dominant mode of digital transaction. Can you guys tell me what percentage of the total digital payment volume did the UPI account for in financial year 2025? I'm talking about the UPI volume. UPI volume. That's 83.4%. Very good, guys. 83.4% is the correct choice. Next one. What was the theme of RBI's Financial Literacy Week for the year 2025? Important. ये तो सबको पता होगा. A very straight question. Option B. Women's prosperity. Right? Option B. Next one. Which platform was open to SEBI registered non-bank stockbrokers during financial year 2025? Platform that was open to SEBI registered non-bank stockbrokers. Important. It was NDSOM platform, right? Can you guys tell me the full form of NDSOM? Anyone? What is the full form of NDSOM, guys? NDSOM. Achha, let me just tell you the OM. Order matching is the full form of OM. What about NDS? Any idea? It is negotiated dealing system order matching. Negotiated dealing system order matching, right? NDSOM. Please do remember this one. I expect कि एक क्वेश्चन आपके एग्जाम में से आना चाहिए NDSOM प्लेटफॉर्म से. ठीक है, ये वाला क्वेश्चन हम कर चुके हैं. इट इज ड्यूरेबल लिक्विडिटी. इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द USD बाय INR बाय सेल स्वैप दैट RBI एंटर्ड. प्रोजेक्ट नेक्सस, आई थिंक ये वाला भी हम कर चुके हैं. इट्स ऑल्सो रिपीटेड क्वेश्चन. फॉरेक्स रिजर्व ऑल्सो अ रिपीटेड क्वेश्चन. अपॉलॉजीज फॉर द सेम. नेक्स्ट वन. अच्छा, CPI रिलेटेड प्लेटफॉर्म, आई डोंट नो, 4 क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे रिपीटेड आ गए. सो CIMS वाला भी हमने कर लिया था. टेल मी दिस वन. विद द पायलट ऑफ द डिजिटल रूपी गेनिंग ट्रैक्शन, RBI extended it to the standalone primary dealers as well, right? We all know that. How many standalone primary dealers were added to the e-rupee wholesale pilot project as per the Annual report of Reserve Bank of India. 4 is the correct choice, guys. 4 is the correct choice. 4 SPDs were added to increase the participation, right, in the financial year 2025. Next one. What happened to the sovereign yield curve during financial year 2025 as per the RBI annual report? Sovereign yield curve. Option B, steepened. Option B. What was the capital to risk weighted asset ratio for scheduled commercial bank in financial year 2025? Capital to risk weighted asset ratio. It was 16.8%, option E, 16.8%, okay, 16.8% as per the annual report of Reserve Bank of India. What type of review was launched by RBI in 2025 to assess the cyber security governance among the regulated entities? What type of review was launched by RBI in financial year 2025 to assess the cyber security governance among the regulated entities? Can be important. Thematic review. It was a thematic review. Perfect. Thematic review. Option B. What was the trend in the number of fraud versus the amount involved in 2025? The number declined but the amount increased, right? The number of fraud cases declined but the amount got increased. Option D. Next one. NBFCs continue to grow in systemic importance. What aspect of operations were large NBFCs specifically advised by the RBI to strengthen during financial year 2025 as per the annual report? As per the annual report. What aspect of operations were large NBFCs specifically advised by the RBI to strengthen during 2025? It was ALM management, asset liability management. Okay, it was ALM, asset liability management. Next one. The digital lending ecosystem has seen exponential growth. Which category of the entities came under strict regulatory supervision of RBI in financial year 2025? It was digital lending apps, DLAs, right? And there was a guideline as well related to the DLA, if you guys remember. Digital lending apps, option D. Next one. The Reserve Bank of India follows a structured framework for monitoring and the health of the supervised entities based on the risk profiling. Which supervisory framework continued to guide RBI's risk-based supervision approach? Risk-based supervision approach. Any idea about this one, guys? That's SPARC. Supervisory Program for Assessment of Risk and Capital can be important for your examination. Next one. What are the revised limit for the per transaction and per wallet in the UPI Lite as per financial year 2025? That's 1000 to 5000. That's 1000 and 5000, right? Per transaction and per wallet. In 2025, Reserve Bank of India streamlined the recognition and governance rules for which of the types of entities to enhance the self-discipline within the sector? Important. That's self-regulatory organization, right? SRO, self-regulatory organizations, SRO. Next one. To streamline the India's gold monetization framework, the government announced significant structural changes in March 2025. One of the major reform involved discontinuing a particular component under the gold monetization scheme. We all know that a particular component under the gold monetization scheme was discontinued. Which deposit component were discontinued effective from March 2025? Important. The correct choice here will be option C, medium term and long term government deposits. Medium term and long term government deposit is the correct choice, option C. Right? Next one. To improve the retail participation in the government securities, the RBI has launched a mobile application offering seamless investment across the market. What is the name of the mobile application launched by RBI in May 2024 to promote the retail investment in the government security market? Yes, it was RBI Direct, right? It was RBI Direct. अब इसके अंदर T-bills के अंदर RBI ने SIP भी permit कर दी है, right? They have permitted the systematic investment plan as well in the T-bill. Plus, they have involved a new feature, which is auto bidding facility in T-bills. Auto bidding facility in T-bills. So ये इससे related finance current affairs है. Next one. What is the new limit for direct and indirect payment through UPI? So it was 5 lakh rupees. It was 5 lakh rupees. Then this is regarding the ways and means advances. What is the revised aggregate limit? तो ये वाली already हमने नई वाली limit पढ़ ली है, ठीक है? We have already done this particular limit, जो updated limit है. India's payment and settlement system witnessed a growth of what percentage in transaction volume during 2025? It was 34.8%. Okay, it was 34.8%. To modernize the currency management ecosystem, Reserve Bank of India has undertaken a project integration technology, automation and process innovation as well to ensure more efficient distribution and storage of currency across the India. What is the name of the RBI project aimed to redesigning and modernizing the currency management? Very, very important. Yes, option B, Samudra, right? Option B, very good. Value of DPI, we have already discussed this one. Of September 2024, we are already having the new data, right? तो आप वो वाला डेटा पढ़ो September 2024 का नहीं, March 2025 का, right? Acha, which of the following was the largest asset component on the RBI's balance sheet for financial year 2024-2025? FY 2025, which was the following was the largest component on the RBI's balance sheet for FY 2025? Largest component. The correct choice is investment in the IDs, foreign investments basically, right? Foreign investments. Which of the following was the largest component on the Reserve Bank of India's balance sheet as on March 2025? It was note issued. It was note issued. Option A, it was note issued. What is the revised limit for UPI 123 Pay in financial year 2025? Revised limit for UPI 123 Pay in financial year 2025. $10,000, perfect, 10,000. Which countries are part of Project Nexus initiative as of now? This was also mentioned in the RBI annual report. We do have Singapore, we do have Malaysia, we do have Thailand and Philippines. Option B. Next one. What is the name of the RBI mobile application that offers access to over 11,000 micro financial data series. I am also using this application. Can be important. It's there on the face of the RBI website. If you open the RBI website, you'll be able to see it. It is RBI data application. RBI data application, option D. Perfect. Next one. RBI is modernizing its reporting framework to facilitate automation and the real-time monitoring. What is the RBI's data reporting upgrade method under this particular initiative? Directly from the report of RBI, annual report of RBI. SDMX based data collection. SDMX based data collection is the correct choice here, right? Option B. Perfect. Option B. RBI risk governance model aims to identify, monitor, mitigate the operational and strategic risk at an enterprise level. What is the foundation model of RBI's enterprise risk management framework? So basically it's nothing but a reporting framework to facilitate any kind of automation and real-time monitoring. So it's nothing but a data reporting upgrade method which is mentioned in the RBI annual report. So you just need to remember this SDMX database collection. It's nothing but a data reporting upgrade that RBI has adopted to facilitate automation and real-time monitoring. Okay, it's part of the annual report. You just need to remember the name, right? If I explain it in detail, it will be unfair for you guys only. Why? Because itna time bacha nahi hai. There is scarcity of time, right? So better कि आप इसका नाम याद कर लो, ज़्यादा better रहेगा. It will be more exam oriented. Here the correct choice is option D, 3-line of defense model. 3-line of defense model directly from the RBI annual report. So these questions are being framed by giving a look at the attention to details, I can say, from the RBI annual report. So आप attention to details दोगे annual report में तो आपको ये वाले कुछ questions मिलेंगे. Next one. What interoperable facility was enabled through UPI starting from June 2025? Interoperable facility. It was cash deposit facility. Okay, it was cash deposit facility. So it was also there in the annual report. Next one. Which department forms the second line of defense in the 3-tier risk management framework of Reserve Bank of India? Second line of defense. It is the risk monitoring department. Okay, option C. Perfect, Anurag. Risk monitoring department. What happens when the available realized equity falls below the lower bound of its requirement as per the RBI surplus distribution policy? RBI is having a surplus distribution policy. Certain conditions must be fulfilled for transferring the surplus to the Government of India. Obviously, if I'm transferring the surplus to the Government of India, first I need to check certain criteria. What happens when the available realized equity falls below the lower criteria? So Sudarshan, what you can do is, if you haven't covered it from the RBI annual report directly, just give it a quick reading. That's it, right? I won't advise you guys to study anything new as of now. Just give it a quick reading by downloading this particular PDF. That's it. Okay. No worries at all. Even if you haven't done it, no problem at all, right? So those things that you guys have not studied as of now, I will advise you guys to read just the quick highlights, or even if you are not able to read the quick highlights, just directly do the MCQs, right? No new content as of now. Don't take any new content as of now, not required. Hardly one question will come, right? And for that, I won't advise you guys to read 100 pages or 50 pages or so. Just directly do the MCQs. That's it. No surplus is transferred to the Government of India if the available realized equity falls below the bare minimum criteria. Option A. Okay, very good, Anurag. Next one. What is the name of the RBI's initiative aimed at propagating the risk awareness among the staff? Can be important. Though it's just a staff level program, it is Risk Awareness Week. Just like we do have Financial Literacy Week, for the employees, RBI is conducting the Risk Awareness Week as well, mentioned in the RBI annual report. So we have done a detailed coverage of the RBI annual report, guys. Even if you are able to read the MCQs, it will be very fruitful for you in the examination. I'm talking about those 1 to 2% questions as well, those exceptional questions जो हमको पता नहीं चलते कि कहाँ से आए, उनमें से भी आपको काफ़ी कुछ इसमें से मिल सकता है. Next one. What was the overall surplus reported by RBI for financial year 2025? It was 2,68,590 crore. We all know that. The Risk Awareness Week initiative was started to embed a risk-conscious culture in the Reserve Bank. How frequently is the RWA now proposed to be held? Now proposed to be held. RWA week. So it is proposed to be held at least annually. At least annually, at par with the Financial Literacy Week as well. At least annually होना चाहिए. Next one. Under the RBI framework related to surplus distribution, any available realized equity in excess of the required realized equity. If my available funds are exceeding the required funds, what will happen? A return back from the contingency fund to income can also be there, right? If you haven't done this one, just ignore it. Just ignore it. Just read the MCQ and ignore it, right? Don't take too much pressure. Even if I am taking some new questions, I have already covered it in my MCQ session. I have covered it in the annual report section as well. I have given you a detailed understanding as well regarding these two concepts. But now the time of understanding those concepts in a very detailed manner जा चुका है. Just give it a quick reading. Try to cover as much as you can. Try to increase the area of your coverage. Don't just limit yourself to RBI circulars, to SEBI circulars, to just, kind of RBI related news, but you are having so many things in your examination. Just try to increase the surface area. As of now, what percentage did the RBI income increase in financial year 2025? So the increase was close to 22.77%. Okay, 22.77% was the overall increase. Next one. What RBI initiatives jointly received the Digital Transformation Award? RBI recently got the Digital Transformation Award. Because of which initiative? Because of which initiative can be important. Very, very important for your examination, for phase 1 specifically. For phase 1 specifically. That's Prava and Sarthi, right? Prava and Sarthi. Option C, very good. Next one. What was the provisioning coverage ratio of scheduled commercial bank for the financial year 2025 as per the RBI annual report? PCR. Yes. C. What led to the significant increase on the asset side of the balance sheet for the financial year 2025 of RBI? It was due to gold. It was due to gold. Option C, gold. Right, we have discussed this in the annual report section of the Reserve Bank of India as well. The Asset Development Fund is provisioning reserve for internal capital project and infrastructure investments. We have already discussed this one. What amount was provisioned by the Reserve Bank of India towards the Asset Development Fund in financial year 2025? Important. 0%. Option A, 0%. Okay. 0%. Perfect, Anurag. Next one. What was the percentage increase in the overall surplus of financial year 2025 as compared to the previous year? So 27.37% was the overall increase in the overall surplus of Reserve Bank of India as compared to the previous years. Which of the following is not recognized on the accrual basis in the RBI's revenue recognition policy? Now this is a very detailed question. I feel that ये phase 2 के अंदर आना चाहिए, right? मेरा ऐसा मानना है, and is instead accounted for only when there is a certainty of realization. So this is as per the revenue recognition policy of RBI. Why it should be part of your phase 1? Because you are having FM subject in your phase 1, phase 2, right? FM subject is there. In that, finance के अंदर basics of accounting is also there. Penal interest charge from the banks is accounted for on the basis of revenue recognition policy. Though I personally feel that ये phase 2 में आना चाहिए. Okay. According to the Reserve Bank of India's accounting policy, which of the following best describe how fixed assets other than the land and building are treated when their cost is up to 1 lakh rupee? You can ignore it for the phase 1 purpose, right? Just ignore it for the phase 1 purpose because it's too much detailed, and I personally feel it's related to accounting. It will be part of your phase 2 and not phase 1. In phase 2, definitely we'll be covering it, right? So that's why I'm specifically marking it here itself so that there is no confusion. इसको आप phase 1 के लिए ignore कर सकते हो, phase 2 के अंदर आ सकता है, right? So very famous quote, guys, of I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kick once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. That's what I always say in my lectures. Don't go for unlimited content, go for a limited content, but do multiple revision of it. Now instead of watching different lectures, what you can do is, after watching this lecture related to RBI circular, just download the PDF and read it. Try to read it as many times as you can in your free time. That will help you fetch more marks rather than doing multiple sessions, right? MCQs on the financial stability report. Let's do some of the MCQs from the financial stability reports on also. I'll be just taking kind of 15 to 20 minutes more. We'll be covering some of the MCQs only from the financial stability report, and rest of the MCQs related to FSR and the different RBI circulars we'll be covering tomorrow in the session, right? So the very first question for today is, RBI has projected the real GDP growth rate in financial year 2026 at what percent? So I personally feel as of is ये financial stability report का prediction है 6.5%, right? आपको सिर्फ monetary policy वाला पढ़ लोगे तो भी it will be fine, right? Monetary policy वाले याद रख लो तो भी it will be fine only. It's 6.5% only. According to the FSR by RBI, identify the correct statement. Here are 4 statements. You need to identify just the correct statement. Domestic inflation has been steadily declining with the headline CPI recording a 6-year low of 2.8% in May 2025. Second one, the outlook for food inflation remains bleak on account of rising prices and erratic monsoon. The risk of imported inflation largely remains high because of the recent escalation of the geopolitical tensions. Fourth one is the near term and the medium term outlook gives greater confidence of durable alignment of headline inflation with that of the target of 4%. The correct answer here will be first and fourth only. These 2 statements are correct. These 2 are incorrect. These 2 are incorrect, right? Option E is the correct choice here. Next one, according to the FSR by the RBI, you need to identify the correct statement. India's public debt level and primary deficit have remained relatively on the higher side as compared to the emerging market. India's government debt is predominantly dollar denominated. Third one, India's fiscal position and credibility has emerged significantly in the recent years. We'll be just doing some more MCQs for the next 15 to 20 minutes and then I'll conclude the session. Rest of the questions related to financial stability and the RBI circulars and other reports we'll be doing tomorrow. Right? So bas thoda sa aur. Here the correct choice is option C. Only first and the third statement is correct here. Second one is yes. India's current account deficit stood at what percentage in 2025? What was the CAD in 2025, guys? Current account deficit. It was 0.6%. Perfect. 0.6%. अब जून 2025 का डेटा आपको पढ़ने का अभी फिलहाल नीड नहीं है. आप क्या कर सकते हो, लेटेस्ट डेटा पढ़ सकते हो जो हम ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं फ्रॉम दी RBI वेबसाइट. एक्सटर्नल डेट stood at what percent of the GDP level at the end of March 2025? At the end of March 2025. External debt level. It was 19.1%. Perfect. 19.1%. Next one. Identify the correct statement according to the RBI's June financial stability report. The net FDI flows in India increased due to low repatriation and low outward FDI. The foreign portfolio investment increased during the financial year 2025. None of the following. Option D, none of the following. None of the following. According to the IMF, the global public debt as a percentage of GDP is projected to reach above what percentage this year and what percentage by the end of the decade? Important. Not everything is important, right? From the financial stability report as well, we always need to select. It's always good to read on selective basis, at least in the last week. No point of creating so much of pressure because we do have other subjects as well. Option D, 95 and 100. Perfect. Option D, 95 and 100 can be important. Next one. Citing the escalation in the trade tensions and the elevated policy uncertainties, the IMF in its April 2025 World Economic Outlook has revised the global growth projection downwards to what percentage in 2025 and what percentage in 2026. This is the global growth projection. Option B here is the correct choice. 2.8% in 2025 and 3% in 2026. Option B. The World Bank in its June 2025 Global Economic Prospects projected a global GDP growth to decelerate from 3.3% in 2024 to what percentage in financial year 2025? Data of World Bank. It was 2.9%. It was 2.9%. Okay, 2.9% in 2025. Okay, so basically here we are having a para based question. Just let's read this particular para and then we'll try to do the questions. There are 4 questions here. In April 2025, market brought a focus into the new key market vulnerabilities. First was the valuation of the US stocks, which was nearly 55% of the global market, equity market. We can have a look at the size of the US market. It's enormous. Remain stretched by historical standards. The forward PE ratio, the ratio of the equity prices to the expected 12 months earning is well above the historical median, and the equity risk premium, a measure of additional return investors required to buy stocks relative to the risk-free bonds, has declined at a decadal low level. What you guys need to answer is, what does the decline in the equity risk premium to decadal low level imply here? No doubt I know that there will be straight questions, right? You can directly get this question instead of getting that particular para for your phase 1 examination, because usually para based questions are part of your phase 2. So basically, equity risk premium is nothing but expected return on your equity. What expectation you have? Let's suppose I do have an expected return of 15%. What is my risk-free rate? Even if I invest in the bank FD, I'll be getting 6%. So can I say that my risk premium is just 9%? Expected return minus the risk-free rate. The passage states that the forward PE ratio is well above the historical medium. What does this most likely indicate? So a high forward PE ratio suggests that the investors are paying more for each unit of the expected future earning. Why I am not discussing this in a very detailed manner? I feel that these two questions have a higher chances of coming in your phase 2 examination rather than phase 1 examination. Why is the robust corporate earning growth necessary to justify the current stock valuation? Why we need to have a robust earning growth? Because we are having a strong valuations, because elevated equity valuations are sustainable only if the future earnings increase significantly, right? So this is just a para-based question. I have directly framed this from the financial stability report. What is the likely impact on the emerging market economies if the countries like India, we are an emerging market economy, right? If US equities undergo a price correction and elevated volatility, if they undergo a price correction and volatility, then negative spillover will also be there on the emerging market economies, right? Negative spillover will also be there on the emerging market economies. What does the dollar smile theory suggest about the performance of the US dollar? Again, it was a line which was a part of your financial stability report. So the dollar strengthens due to economic boom and crisis, but weakens due to moderate growth, right? So that's what the theory suggests. Dollar smile theory. Dollar will boom because of the economic boom and crisis, but it will weaken if there is a moderate growth. That's what this theory is all about. Okay. Which of the following instruments were used by Reserve Bank of India to inject durable liquidity during the first half of 2025? Any idea, guys? It was there in your financial stability report. So RBI has used open market operations, buy sell swaps and term variable repo rates as well, just to inject durable liquidity in the 2025. And obviously they have slashed the CRR as well by 100 basis point. So again it will release 2.5 lakh crore liquidity between September to December 2025, right? It was also there. How have the RBI's liquidity and rate cut measures contributed to the monetary policy effectiveness? How have the RBI's liquidity and rate cut measures contributed to the monetary policy effectiveness? Obviously, the monetary policy transmission will be improved. The monetary policy transmission will be improved by easing the financial and credit conditions. What indicates a tightening of domestic financial condition during January to March 2025? There was a liquidity tightening during the January to March 2025. So it was because of the widening of the money and corporate bond market spread. Just give it a quick reading. Even if you are not able to understand it very well, no problem at all. I won't suggest you to watch the full financial stability report now. Just give it a quick reading, that's it. Okay, so the development of the robust repo market enhances the liquidity and efficiency in the corporate bond market. Accordingly, when was the AMC Repo Clearing Limited operationalized? So it was operationalized in July 2023, right? It was operationalized in July 2023, though it is not a very much relevant question for your phase 1 as of now. India's household debt has been what in the recent years? As on year ended December 2024, India's household debt was what percentage of the GDP? Any idea about this one? It was increasing in the recent years, and in December 2024 it was 41.9%. 41.9% option A. Which of the following categories of loans form the highest share of the household debt in India as of March 2025? Option D, non-housing retail loans. Okay, non-housing retail loans. Glad you guys remember this. Non-housing retail loans. What was the gross NPA of the scheduled commercial banks as per March 2025 financial stability report data? It was 2.3%. Okay, 2.3%. So there are different criteria related to gross NPA, net NPA, ROA, PCR, LCR and so on. PCR हमने discuss किया, LCR was 132.6. Okay, liquidity coverage ratio was 132.6. According to the financial stability report by RBI, which of the following factors has contributed to the soundness of scheduled commercial banks in India? To the soundness of scheduled commercial banks in India, as per the financial stability report. High CET1 ratio, high CET1 capital, improved asset quality and robust profitability. Option B. Perfect. Option B. Acha, what do you mean by credit impulse? It's a macroeconomic term. Credit impulse. It's nothing but the change in the flow of new credit as a percentage of GDP. It was also there in your financial stability report. Change in the flow of new credit as a percentage of the GDP. What risks to the bank performance are highlighted in the financial stability report due to changing credit conditions? That's option E. Negative credit impulse and potential slowdown in the credit demand, right? Potential slowdown in the credit demand. Option C is the correct choice. So guys, let's keep it this much only for today. Rest of the things, the remaining part of the financial stability report और बाकी के आपके circular, तो इस particular video में हमने क्या किया है, आपका September month, August month, July month and RBI annual report and some part of the financial stability report. I think 40% part of the financial stability report we have covered in this particular session. आई होप ये सेशन आप लोगों के लिए वैल्यूएबल रहा होगा, और वैल्यूएबल बनाने के लिए इस पीडीएफ को डेफिनेटली डाउनलोड कर लो और मल्टीपल टाइम्स इसको पढ़ लो. अगर ये आपके वीक जोन में है तो, अगर स्ट्रॉन्ग जोन में है तो सिर्फ वो क्वेश्चंस पढ़ो जो आपको वीक लगे. दोज क्वेश्चंस दैट यू आर नॉट एबल टू आंसर, जस्ट रीड दैट ओनली. डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम बाय रीडिंग द सेम थिंग अगेन एंड अगेन. ओके गाइस, सो जस्ट डाउनलोड दिस पीडीएफ एंड हैव अ क्विक रीडिंग. रेस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स आई विल डेफिनेटली कवर इन माय टुमारो सेशन 1 PM. सो आपके यहाँ पे RBI सर्कुलर्स, आपके काफ़ी सारे रिपोर्ट्स यहीं कंक्लूड हो जाएंगे इन द मैराथन सेशन एज वेल. ओके, सो थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर शोइंग द पार्टिसिपेशन एंड चीयर्स टू दोज जो वीडियो के एंड तक हैं, स्टार्ट से लेके एंड तक, राइट. सो गुड टू सी यू गाइज वर्किंग सो हार्ड एंड वर्किंग सो स्मार्ट. सो बाय बाय गाइज, टेक केयर, सी यू सून इन टुमारो सेशन. बेस्ट विशेस फॉर द एग्जामिनेशन. बाय बाय, टेक केयर.